Do you have any questions about, I would love some feedback on kind of how the group has been going. Like Amber and I have been really trying to give tips, but keep it simple where you're not having to like be bogged down with stuff. But if you're thinking like struggling with a certain area of business, that's mainly our goal, was just to try to provide just simple tips. So you didn't have to go search social, Google or whatever. You could just come back to our page. But any questions about anything or any feedback on the page or the group or anything at all, we would really appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't have any questions in particular. I feel like for new coaches who don't have a clue about what to do, when to do it, what are the different avenues as far as blogging, Facebook, Instagram, all that, you guys give a good overview of what to do. So it's a good, say like a resource page for new people that you're trying to kind of get some type of routine down.
Yep. Yep. No, I appreciate it because that's exactly what we were wanting. Just a simple routine where it's like basically what everybody can expect. They know when they come to the page that they're going to get a tip, they're going to get some sort of something every day. And since, we're all doing our own things, a lot of us, it's good to be like, okay, let's check in. I love the Wednesday check-in, which was supposed to be yesterday, and I dropped the ball on that one. So I'm like, well, we'll do it today. So just check in, like, did you get your shake? Did you get your workout? And, the people who are going to do the business are going to come on the page and are going to, yes, I did it. Yes, I did it. Yes, I did it. But I think even beyond what we're doing, we definitely want anyone and everyone who has a tip, who has something they learned, a mistake they made, something that seems to be working, anything like that with anything in the business, please, please, please share it with us, because we know how this business works. Like, we're all here to learn, and nobody is going to ever know it all. So if anyone has anything, please feel free to post that for us to learn. Okay, so let me dive in really, really quickly. I'm going to keep this super quick and short, I promise. But the very end of the month last month, Amber and I decided, you know what, it would be good if we could power through this Eat Your Frog book. Can't really see that well because it's so short. And of course, all of us have so many things on our to-do list that seem to be never ending and have a very difficult time getting done, at least for me. So we thought, well, let's get this book back out for those of us it's been a while. So I'm just going to run through a couple of things of tips that he gave in the book of how to stop procrastinating and actually get things done. So first of all, in business and life and anything, we have to make a decision that something has to change. So like if we're struggling in any area, we have to decide enough's enough, we have to change. And then we have to create some discipline around what it is we want to change. And then we have to be determined to make the change. So basically that's how he starts the book. Decision, discipline, and determination. So, okay, now that we know we have something we want to change, what do we do from there? Well, he talks about setting the table. So it's kind of like you have your dinner plate and you have your utensils and everything. You have to decide exactly what it is you want. Well, kind of like we got to know what we're going to have for dinner. So you got to have the recipe, you got to have the stuff, you can't actually eat the dinner until you have the food ready, until you have your utensils out, until you have everything you need. So he's saying you need to decide what you want, you need to write it down. We've all heard millions of times, like, if you know what you want and you don't write it down, it's probably not going to happen. And so whatever that looks like for you, and I want to throw out just for a second, this can be applicable to anything that you're struggling with or anything you want to change. I know there's tons of people in the healthcare world who have tons of debt. So even though you may want to do better in your business, what if we need to get out of debt? I mean, that's like a huge thing that you can apply this to. So decide what you want to do. Do you want to pay off $10,000 in 10 months? Do you want to increase your followers on social media? Do you want to advance rank in 30 days? Whatever that looks like, write it down and set a deadline. So you can't say, by the end of 2018, I want to be 2-star diamond. And this is something that I've learned. You have to set a specific date that we want that to be done. And then you need to make a list of everything you need to do to get it to happen. So if your goal is to get out of debt, well, how much every month do you have to put back? So do a 30-day goal. I want to have this much in the bank in 30 days so that I can write a check to this. I want to have this many team active coaches on this leg by this date so that I can advance to this rank. So whatever it is, you need to have a goal and make a list of everything that you need to do. The list is always going to be a little different for everybody and for different goals. So you may start writing things down of, I need this done. I need to be consistent on social media. So you may decide, okay, on Sunday nights now, if I don't schedule out my post on social media, it's probably not going to get done. So that's a goal that you have. Well, inviting people, well, those are pretty top of the list for making a goal, right? You're going to have to be present on social media and you're going to have to invite people, but you're going to have to make a decision. Which one is most important? So if you don't invite anyone, then you're probably not going to have anyone join you. So once you write down your goals and write down your stuff, you're going to have to decide what is the most important thing that I need to do every day. And of course, that's your frog, right? The very most important thing is your frog. So organize your list and take action immediately. So he recommends making sure that you're looking at your list or creating a list the day before. This is something that Chalene Johnson teaches. This is something that I was reading another book or an article, I cannot even remember, the other day, and that's the same thing. Write out what you want to happen the night before. Oh, Terry, my girl Terry, I was listening to one of her podcasts, and she was like, what do successful people do? They plan their day in advance. So they don't go to sleep until they've written out what their goals are going to be or what their plan is going to be for the next morning. So that way when they wake up the next morning, they look at what needs to be done that day, and then they can prioritize to what they need to do. So he talks about this performance formula. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance. Well, hello. And I need to tell myself that every morning. Like, Chanel, if you would just write out what you need to do today, the night before, that's proper planning. And it takes time. So I would say that if you know today, before we get off this call, you're saying, I know I need to plan. So put a notebook beside your bed, and this is exactly what's in my Eat That Frog, is a notebook, a blank notebook where you can start writing out the things that you need to do the next day. So that way when you wake up, you grab the book, you go into your office, your kitchen table for me, and I can break open that thing and say, oh, okay, this is what I need to do. No big deal. I know what I need to do. So proper planning prevents poor performance. It's so true. Okay, apply the 80-20 rule. So 20% of your activities will account for 80% of your results. So think about this. We know in coaching, we have a list of things that we need to be doing every day. Your shake, your workout, your personal development, your recognition, your social media, your inviting. I mean, the list goes on. But there's really only about 20% of that stuff that's going to get you 80% of the results. And we all know that the basis of that, in my opinion, I feel like personal development, getting your mind right, and actually putting that invitation out are the two most important things. Because if we're sitting there all day long with, okay, let me read something else to get myself pumped up. Okay, what you got to say, Brian Tracy? Okay, Terry, speak to me again. I just don't have that confidence yet. If we're not consistent in our personal development, that's what would happen to me I remember like even a year and a half ago, I would just sit and be like, help me, Jesus. Okay, who else can I look to give me some more motivation? If we don't actually take action, then nothing's ever going to happen. So 20% of the things that we do is actually going to produce 80% of the results. But you have to decide what that 20% is, what weighs the most in your daily activities. So you're going to have to number your tasks. So when you know what you need to do during the day, your next thing is you need to number the tasks, and you need to decide what's the most important. And how do we do this? One way that you can do this is look at the things that you have to do and ask yourself, what has the highest value? What on this list is going to produce the most results? And this, again, it may not even be in business. This may be get out of debt plan. This may be, there's all kinds of things that this can apply to. What has the highest value? What can I and only I do that, if done well, will make the biggest difference? So what on your list today, if it's the only thing you can do and you do it really well, what of those things on your list will make the biggest difference? And then what is the most valuable use of my time right now? And I will say that for me, I mean, I've done this business all different ways. Like, I've done many videos in my car, and my babies when they were itty bitty, like nap times, I mean, all over the place. And this is the first time in the last couple of months ever that I've actually been working from my home in my office, like doing a home job. And but it can be done anywhere. But you have to decide what you need to do, because if you don't know exactly what you need to do for that day, you don't even know what to do in the pockets of time. And a whole day will go by and you're like, well, I knew I needed to do like 100 things, but I didn't even do one because I had so many things going on in my head. And we all live that same life. And no matter who you are, what kind of person you are, we all live the same life. We all have mess. We all have stuff. And so if we have a list that we can look at and you can say, I got 10 minutes. I'm waiting for an appointment. I'm waiting to go pick up my kids from school. I've got 10 minutes. What the heck can I do in this 10 minutes that will matter the most? That may be listening to a podcast. That may be jumping on live video. That may be sending out 5 invitations or writing a quick hello. You have to decide what that is for you. Practice creative procrastination. So there are some things that you need to procrastinate on, right? And you know what those things are? Making images that are beautiful, making fancy stuff to post on social media. There's lots of things that we really have to procrastinate on and wait till later because they really don't matter. Now, do fancy photos on Facebook matter or Instagram matter? Absolutely they matter. They do matter. However, if you're doing that before you're inviting, or you're doing that before you're doing your personal development or your workouts, like the basic stuff, then those images don't matter. It's when you've done everything else that is most important, and then you say, okay, I got 10 minutes. Let me create my image that I can use for tomorrow. And that's kind of what I do in my morning routine. Any ounce of seconds I have left in the morning before my boys come running out to greet me, I literally sit down and create images and try to take advantage of that time. So that's just a tip for me to you. Okay, moving right along. We're close. So use the ABCD method continually. So basically the ABCDE method is just a way of kind of tracking what's most important. A, B, C, D. Like, what do you need to do A? What do you need to do B? I want to make sure I'm explaining that right. Start with the list of everything you need to do and think on paper. Yes, A, B, C, and D. So you kind of get that. That's pretty self-explanatory. Instead of doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he's just saying load up everything on your paper. Don't put numbers. Don't put anything to it. Because I don't know about you, but my brain is all over the place. So I may think of something the night before, 2 days before, and I can just write it out blank on a piece of paper. But then he's saying that morning of, you go through and you monetize A, B, C, D. So that way, if the first thing on your list really needs to be D, then you can do it that way instead of numbering those items. So, okay, focus on key result areas. So there are certain areas that you have to be very diligent with. If you don't, it doesn't get done. Well, obviously none of them get done, but you have to be very, very mindful of these very specific key areas. So a key area is an activity that is under your control. It's something you can control. It produces a result that becomes a huge contributing factor to the work that you're doing for other people. So you have to decide what that is. So he says a starting point of high performance is for you to identify what this key area is. Decide what it is and take action on what it is. I'm trying to think of an example of that. What is one skill, if you develop it in an excellent fashion, would have the greatest impact on your career, on our coaching? If there's one thing that you feel like you could master and it have an excellent result on your coaching business, what would it be? Trying to think of something specific that we could talk to on that. If there's one thing, if we developed it really, really well and it made the greatest impact, I think this is kind of important because I feel like, especially for any new people, they need to know like what it is that we feel like when we started doing this one thing and we've done it over and over, now we're seeing a good result from that. What do you think? What is that?
Mm.
I know that's a hard one because I feel like there's multiple things that help us feel good about our business, um, about our business. But I feel like for me, this is speaking. Well, consistency is probably the number one thing. Period. But consistency in what? Consistency in what? And I feel like keeping relationships open and utilizing conversation, utilizing invitations consistently is probably the number one thing. Because regardless of what you put out on Instagram or Facebook, there's not everybody's going to see that. So if we don't consistently, constantly build relationships and say, how are you doing? Check back in, follow up, or extend the invitation, that is like the thing. I feel like once you master a template, a thing that you follow, whether it's 5 likes, 5 comments, 5 follows, 5 invitations, like whatever that looks like for you. And that's a really good one to do. Like 5 people's posts, comment on 5 people's posts. What's another one, Ashley? Like, comment, follow 5 different people. That's specifically for Instagram. And then 5 invitations to people. Following that system consistently every single day. And you know what? You can do that in 10 minutes. Most of those you could literally do in 10 minutes. Maybe not the invitations, but you can follow, like, and comment in like 10 minutes. But if you don't have the system and you don't know what you need to do that day, you're not going to realize, are you serious? That would have only taken me 10 minutes. It took me 5 days and it only took me 10 minutes. But it's because we don't write it down. We don't say, spend 5 minutes doing this, 5 minutes doing this, 5 minutes doing that. So I would say for our coaching business, the one skill that would move our businesses the quickest and most effectively is that relationship piece. It's the like, the comment, the messages, though. That is it. I feel like beyond anything else, because otherwise nobody knows what you're doing and nobody knows what you're about. Like, they really don't. We can do everything else and nobody would know, because there's lots of people out there doing personal development at home, but you don't know about it. You don't know what they're reading. There's a lot of people drinking all kinds of shakes out there and doing a lot of workouts that you never know. So it's that relationship piece. And say this is like a finance thing, because I know this is kind of a hot topic in our house. That one thing, that one skill is like a budget. I feel like if you start owning a budget every single month, that one single thing will have the biggest impact on the rest of your spending the rest of the month. Because well, I already told myself I can only spend this on here, this in here, this in here, and this in here. So that's just a little side note to make sure that you know that these books and this personal development is not all about Beachbody. Like, it can be applied everywhere. So apply the simple law of 3. Make sure that this is, okay, the law of 3. The quick list method. So we already talked about that. Make your quick list the night before so that you can review it in the morning. Work all the time you work. Ooh, that one is a good one. I can't tell you, I just was writing my 2nd book yesterday, and I put my phone on airplane mode, and I'll be darned, I like unloaded on more. I was blown away. I like stepped away 2.5 hours later, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I cannot believe I was just able to get that much done. But it was because I focused on what I needed to focus on. And what that taught me was that I'm really lax and really not a good steward of my time with my Beachbody business. Because if I would put my phone on airplane mode and I would literally sit there and look at my list of what I need to get done, it would not take any time to get it done. So that's what he's saying. Work when it's time to work. You have a list. You know what you need to do. Go to work. All right. Balance is not an option. Well, so that was another kind of like, it's not. We have to work when we have to work. So there's really no balance. And for me, I feel like I try to balance, but I've always said a year ago, I decided that balance is impossible. You either shift your brain here or you shift it here. You cannot shift it in 2 different places. So if I want to be the mom I want to be, I have to close down the business and my mind from the business. Can I think about it? Well, sure, but it interferes with my quality of time with my kids. So it's the same thing. Work, yes. Does Ashley answer messages and try to seal the deal at work? Of course, we do those things. But really and truly, to do good quality work, especially when we're planning our week, we're getting our to-do list done, we can't have balance. It is, you get what you need to get done, and you get it done. That way you do have a better quality of life. And the more I do that, the better quality of life is. So there's no really such thing as balance. Identify your key constraints. This is just mainly identifying the things that may get in your way. So putting your phone on airplane mode, or telling people I'm out of pocket these days. Maybe even that means you can't go to a coffee date, or you can't go do something. Like, just know what could interfere with your goals and just decide early on, I can't do those things. Whatever that looks like for you and what distractions you have. I will tell you, this is like the number one distraction for me. So airplane mode is my new best friend. All right, put the pressure on yourself. Only about 2% of people can work entirely without supervision. Think about that. That's pretty astonishing. Only about 2%. We all have these leaders. What is it? Oh, we call these people leaders. So he's saying the 2%, which are those who are successful at home business, in my opinion. It's these 2%ers. We're only 2% of the world. It's saying, he's calling us leaders. He's saying we're willing to step in to take action for our life and take responsibility. This is the kind of person you are meant to be, and that you can be. That's what he's telling us, if you decide to be. So we've been given an opportunity, and he's already said, you've already stepped up to the plate. You're already a leader. Now you have to decide to be the leader that you know you can be. So we know that's I love that little section. So maximize your personal powers. This is basically just saying, overworking can mean underproducing. So he's saying, you're a leader. You've already stepped up to the plate. So this can come with some positives and negatives. And these personal powers can be negative. So he's saying overworking, which we can tend to do sometimes and forget to take time for ourselves. It means often that we're not really producing. We're just being busy. We're just being busy, and we're not actually doing the things that we know that we need to do. And then it's saying, work at your own pace, put your blinders on. Don't look at anybody else and what the heck they're doing. Oh, that is a big one. That took me so long. And finally, I feel like I have definitely not mastered it, but I just have stopped following people. I've stopped looking at anything, and I'm just on my own zone. Get enough sleep. These are just reminders, because we're go-getters. Get enough sleep. Guard your physical health. Well, thank goodness we're in the business we're in, because we are taking care of our health, right? Okay, so I think this is almost it. Motivate yourself into action. So we've all heard this before. You're the only one that can motivate you. So, I've struggled with this, because I have lots of people say, oh, you're such a good motivator. And I'm like, well, then why the heck haven't you joined me? Why the heck haven't you taken action if I'm such a good motivator? But the reality is that we can't motivate people. They have to be their own motivation. So we know that. So we have to figure out what it is that is going to motivate us in the hard times. And when we don't want to do something, when we are just feeling down in the dumps, we feel like that nothing can change, we have to figure out what it is that will motivate us. Personal development, church, meeting. Maybe that's a time where you say, I'm checking out and I'm going to have dinner with the girlfriends. I'm going to go have a glass of wine. Like, whatever that is for you, and only you know that, but you have to be careful to take care of yourself through all of this. Get out of the technology time sink. Well, we know that, technology can be your best friend, but can it also be your worst enemy? We run a race where it is just all consuming. So he's basically just warning us that technology can be a bad thing. I do want to say that I have found myself when people are saying, like, it's so awesome what you're doing and all this. And I believe that social media is an amazing gift for those of us who are in business, and especially Jesus girls, because it is an opportunity for us to do exactly what we are here to do on this earth, and that is to shine Jesus. So we have to be super careful with that, right? So it doesn't mean that we can't be ourselves and be true and be who we are, but it also means that this gift is a way to share Jesus. And so I have to always throw that in there because people hate social media and they hate Facebook and they say, well, I can't stand it. I'm never on there. And I usually say, well, who are you following or who are you watching? Because my goal is to be the light. So maybe you can unfriend everybody else and just follow me, like, because I hope to encourage you. But just know that we're doing a good thing and that social media can be used for exactly what I believe the Lord wants us to use it for, and that is to shine his light for everybody to see. But we just have to be mindful with it and know that it's that kind of a vessel. So use it wisely. So if we're having a rough day, I think it's absolutely appropriate to post that we're having a rough day, but I think that we need to shine light on what we're going to do about it. So don't be negative all the time because people do not want to see that. They don't want to follow that. And if you're in a negative place, turn to personal development, turn to Jesus, do something to get yourself out of that, and then share it. Don't keep it in. Don't hold it. It's okay to say you're having a bad day, but be mindful of what you're sharing. And I'll close that door. All right, slice and dice the task. One technique that you can use to cut a big task is to, okay, well, this is what this is saying, and this is the last one. If you have a big project coming up, and say we have a challenge group coming up for next month, what can we do now to start preparing for that challenge group so that we're not waiting until the Monday before to start advertising? Because I don't know about you, and Ashley, you know this, like I feel like a year and a half ago, we're like, oh God, like we got to advertise for Monday and it's Thursday.
Yeah. Get a Santa hat by Monday. You got to.
And I know, Ashley, you get frustrated with me. You'll be like, Chanel, like, that's in 2 days. Like, what's going on? And for me, I'm like, oh no, we got plenty of time. So like, let's be good business owners. And this is what he's talking about. Like, what can you go ahead and start doing today to start planning for next month? And I understand that is like a huge thing. And 4 years ago, I would have laughed at you and said, oh no, I'll be pulling out stuff the week before and I'll be fine. I mean, because that's just what I did. But now knowing the stress that has been going on in my life and has caused my adrenals to shut down, it was ridiculous. So for instance, let me just give you an example. I put out my calendar every single month, and the same thing with the challenge groups. We know what is coming next month. We have a plan. We follow a schedule. This is something I have really tried to help our team adopt. You got a schedule and you stick with it. Why? So that you can lessen your stress. But here's the kicker. If we're not planning out ahead and we're not thinking, okay, it's the 7th of December. If I know that I have a sneak peek the 3rd week of the month, I kind of need to start writing down a few names of people to maybe invite to, or I can maybe, if I have 10 minutes, go ahead and create a graphic that I can put on social media in my 10 minutes left of time. Or for me, I could go ahead and start creating my template for my calendar that comes out on December 1st. I mean, I'm the world's worst. I was of showing up a week before and being like, oh my God, like there's no way this can all get done. And it's the worst feeling because not only do you feel chaotic and all over the place, but honestly, those are the moments that make you feel like you're not worthy of doing what we're doing. It makes you feel like you're a bad coach. It makes you feel like you don't have anything to offer. You can't get your stuff together. You don't know what you're doing. Like that's what I would feel like over and over and over. And so I feel like you all can appreciate that of when we procrastinate, when we wait, when we don't diligently slice up those tasks and start thinking ahead like a good business owner, we are left to feel like maybe this is not what we're supposed to do. And that's simply not true. That's usually Satan just getting in your head because we procrastinated. Like, hello. It's the same thing of anything else in life. So make sure we're thinking diligently about the next month. Okay. Woo, done. So I feel like that book is just really good. And I felt like this PDF when I was reading through it, it's a great reminder of really how we're supposed to be doing our business. So I hope you took some things out of that. Ashley, do you have any questions or anything to add to anything at all?
No, I like the proper prior planning prevents poor performance.
Yep. All day, every day.
So true.
It,
Especially the 80-day obsession coming out, and like now is the time to really be planning out, okay, when is my group going to start? When do I need to start promoting? I mean, and Beachbody's done a really good job about forcing us to promote this month with the release of that accessory pack and all of that stuff, because it's forcing us to get our people now. So
yeah.
when January rolls around, when it rolls out, that everybody will be prepared and ready to go. So yeah, planning
No,
is key.
yep, I love it. I absolutely, I mean, and that's perfect. And what I'm going to ask of everyone in the team is when month to month this is happening and you're thinking, okay, I got a plan for next month. We got a plan for 80-day obsession, whatever it may be. Throw out something in the group of I'm brainstorming today on 80-day obsession. What is everybody else doing? How can we come together? Does someone want to run a group together, or whatever that may look like? But if you're sitting down planning for anything, trying to pick another personal development book or whatever it may be in your business, just think about everybody else and what may benefit the team, because we're all going to be planning for something, or we should be. Those of us who are working are planning, that we're always planning. So I love that you mentioned the 80-day obsession, because I do think that I probably need to sit down and kind of have a game plan of maybe when things need to be purchased by, when the group needs to start. And in January it may be beneficial, depending on how everybody's feeling, to rally our old challengers, rally our old coaches, like rally people together to start off January with a bang. And so that's just something that we may want to consider, of just trying to get old people in. And even if it doesn't give us any points, what I have learned, guys, I want to tell you this really quick, is when I'm rallying these other people, there have been a few people that are giving me referrals.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a benefit of it, even though sometimes I'm like, oh, it's not going to give me my point or whatever, because sometimes that's just what we think about. I've been getting a lot of referrals lately from people who are like, I have a cousin who would benefit from this so much. I'm going to talk to her. And then I'll say, I'll give you a freebie of some sort, an incentive to get her on board. And several people have signed up other people, or helped me get in contact with other people. So that's just a little tidbit on rallying our old group and our old crew. So you may want to just print off, maybe that needs to be action step number 1 in preparation. Go to our back office and print off a customer list, so that we can go through those customer lists, because some of them, guys, they may not have ever bought a challenge pack. Some of them may not have. I know I have lots of people who haven't bought a challenge pack. Many years ago, they just bought a program. And so, anyways, action step number 1, to prepare for 80-day obsession. Let's go to our back office, print off a customer list, and see if there's anybody that we can start inviting to get them ready, and then ask for a referral. When we invite, let that be part of our invitation now. Do you know anyone who may want to join? I know, maybe we could even say, I know you've been in one of my challenge groups before. We're doing things a little differently. We're in an app. Do you have anyone that would want to join, or is this something that you may want to do again with me? Simple, easy invitation. And maybe we'll get 2 bang for our buck, hopefully, and changing some lives. So, okay, well, I'm going to let y'all go. I tried not to be very long, so hopefully it wasn't. But Ashley, so good to see you. If anybody needs anything, I'm here. Me and Amber are really trying to keep our group consistent and informative, but also, want it to be a place of community, so we're all helping each other. But okay, well, y'all have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Bye.